Mumbai.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. 17th BRICS Summit issues joint declaration, commits to unity, equality, cooperation and reform for peace, inclusive growth, sustainable development and a fairer global order. BRICS strongly condemns all acts of terrorism, denounces Pahalgam terror attack in Kashmir. Prime Minister Modi calls for reforms in voting rights, governance and leadership. Israel sends team to Qatar for Gaza hostages and ceasefire negotiations but rejects Hamas's demands to change ceasefire proposal. Netanyahu to meet US President Donald Trump in Washington on Monday. Billionaire Elon Musk launches a new political party in the US, calls it America Party, says America needs fresh leadership. India wins the Birmingham Test by beating England by 336 runs. Leaders of BRICS countries issued a 31-page, 126-point joint declaration. The leaders strongly condemned all acts of terrorism as criminal and unjustifiable, specifically denouncing the Pahalgam attack which took place on April 22nd this year in Jammu and Kashmir that killed 26 innocent lives. BRICS leaders reaffirmed their commitment to combat terrorism in all forms, including cross-border terrorism, financing and safe havens, rejecting any association with religion, nationality or ethnicity. They emphasize zero tolerance, accountability and compliance with international law, including the UN Charter and human rights protocols. Leaders urged the swift adoption of UN's Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism and actions against UN-designated terrorists, stressing the rejection of double standards in global counter-terror efforts. Earlier, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva opened the plenary session on peace and security reform of global governance at the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro. The session, part of the BRICS Summit, focused on key global issues, including multilateral reforms, peace and security, and strengthening global governance to amplify the voice of the Global South. The Brazilian president rejected the Pahalgam attack during his address, stating that he rejects the ideology of hate. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the 17th BRICS Summit in Brazil thanked President Lula for the impactful leadership, calling it double espresso shot of energy. He congratulated Indonesia's President Prabowo for joining the BRICS grouping. Prime Minister highlighted how the Global South faces double standards in development, resources and security, receiving only token gestures on issues like climate finance and technology. He stressed that 20th century global institutions lack representation and are ineffective, like a phone with a SIM but no network. Calling for real reforms in voting rights, governance and leadership, he emphasized building a multipolar, inclusive world order. Praising BRICS expansion, he urged similar reforms in the UN, WTO and development banks. India remains committed to global welfare, he said. The 17th BRICS Summit is underway at Rio de Janeiro. India's role is under the spotlight, from the counter-terrorism to trade, with India playing a pivotal role in BRICS and bilateral ties with Brazil gaining steady momentum. DD India exclusively speaks with Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia, India's ambassador to Brazil, to discuss New Delhi's key priorities, state of India-Brazil ties, and what's at stake at this year's BRICS Summit.
We're joined in by Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia, who is the Ambassador of India to Brazil. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to DD India. Sir, we would want to first ask you about the BRICS Summit. What are India's priorities in this summit, and what can be expected that India is going to push for in this summit?
As far as BRICS summit is concerned, Prime Minister has participated in all the summits, and our basic agenda since the inception of BRICS has been global governance reform, and we will continue with the same agenda in this summit. Brazil is of course the partner in Global South. It's a strategic partner of India, and we have a common agenda of global governance reforms.
India has put its very strong stance on counterterrorism, and after the Pahalgam attack, how do you think India is going to push even stronger this time, or probably make a stronger consensus amidst the member states?
Counterterrorism is one of our core agenda. As far as BRICS is concerned, they will talk about it in some form which I'm not privy to at this point of time. But on bilateral front, I can tell you that between India and Brazil, Brazil has supported us on this issue. And in this visit, we are trying to conclude an MOU on counterterrorism, which will be another step forward between the two strategic partners.
So, obviously, we'll shift focus to the bilateral that is going to happen between India and Brazil. How do you think, where's the trajectory of the relationship between both the leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Lula, considering this is Prime Minister Modi's 4th visit this time?
Brazil and India have always been close countries. They have been part of Global South. And since 2006, our bilateral relations were elevated to strategic partnership. And of course, there have been several exchange of visits. Prime Minister Modi's first visit out of Indian subcontinent was to Brazil in July of 2014. That shows the closeness of importance of the closeness of relationship between India and Brazil. And the agenda in the meanwhile has amplified so much. It has deepened and broadened between the two countries. From political relationship, where we are close partners in various fora, we are talking about trade and investment. The trade between the two countries has gone up to more than $12 billion with a slight trade surplus in favor of India. Then we are also talking about from agricultural research to scientific research to digital partnership, which is a very important agenda currently between India and Brazil.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for speaking to us. So here, as global attention shifts to Brazil with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the BRICS summit, as well as for this landmark bilateral that is going to happen between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Lula, we'll bring to you all the important updates, insights and exclusives from Brazil only for DD India.
An important business gathering is taking shape under the BRICS umbrella, with high-profile Indian business delegation in Brazil. From agribusiness to gems and jewelry to startups, the Indian delegation is scouting key sectors ripe for collaboration. DD India speaks with the delegation in Rio de Janeiro about their expectations from the summit and the bilaterals between India and Brazil.
Joined in by all business people from India. Ma'am, thank you so much for talking to us, and we already have a delegation. What are the expectations? What are we talking about? What is the brainstorming that's going on?
It's really heartening to see that for the Brazilian business delegation, and who we've been interacting with, and of course the government officials here are really interested in promoting Brazilian startups. So I think there's a great synergy between Indian startups, Indian investors, legacy companies here, and investors and the governments wanting to work on innovation, startups, and growing the whole startup ecosystem.
We're also, obviously, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be holding a bilateral with President Lula. What are the expectations of the Indian businessmen that you are expecting that will be one of the outcomes from the meeting?
We see a lot of opportunity because I see some diverse angles also here. Here the natural resources are in plenty. There is a scope for innovation is very high. What attracted me here is how do they use the biofuels. Yeah, they are the leaders in that.
Tariff is 100% there. That once it is reduced, certainly there is a lot of scope between two countries and both will be winner. Only is that CBO, complete build-up unit, should be allowed to basically export here at a slightly cheaper rate.
Economically speaking, what are the expectations from the BRICS?
BRICS is doing a great job by getting people united out here and making people understand what are the opportunities in India, Brazil, what bilateral trade we guys can do together.
We want the primacy of the Indian business. His visit will spur that and will actually give a big fillip and encouragement to all of us to do more.
And DD India explored something very interesting in the heart of Brazil, thousands of miles away from India. Young Brazilians are learning ancient Indian mantras, sacred chants, passed down from centuries in devotion to Indian gods and goddesses, guided by Indian gurus and music instructors at Swami Vivekananda Center for Indian Culture, established by ICCR. These students are not just singing, they're embracing a tradition of devotion, discipline, and divine connection.
Number of youngsters in Brazil are embracing Indian spirituality, Indian music, Indian mantras and more. And we're joined in by such a group which has been learning this at the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Sao Paulo. And we'll talk to them to understand what they're learning. You know, it's been 4-5 years or more than that for a few of you who have been learning these Indian music, mantras and more. What do you have to say about it? What's your inclination?
We are singing mantra about, I think, 3 years and doing this devotional music. And we are very glad to be here to have this opportunity to meet with Narendra Modi and hope our frequencies go to the world with a lot of peace and love. And we are very happy to connect those cultures like India and Brazil. And we have India in our hearts. Everyone. And now it's like see a dream coming true because we sing mantras, it's like an instrument for us, but now we are like living this.
Indian culture has completely transformed my life for the last 10 years and I'm deeply passionate and devotionally touched by this culture. So like he said, we've never been in this life in India yet, but India is inside of us and we are feeling deeply honored by this opportunity by the director, Dr. Jyoti. Really, it's an honor to be here sharing this bhakti, this devotional that pulses through us. So yes, this comes from the straight of our hearts to all of the hearts and it spreads musically, beautifully honoring this sacred ancient culture that is India. And yeah, it's amazing. It's a pleasure to be here. We're very honored. We send blessings to you all. Really love, 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 love.
Would like to sing for us the devotional mantras that you have learned over the years, anything that's your favorite and you would like to sing for our audience in India?
Jaya Jagadambe Jai Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma Durga, Jaya Jagadambe Jai Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma Durga, Jaya Jagadambe Jai Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma Durga, Ma Durga, Ma Durga, Ma Durga, Ma Durga. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma.
How beautifully these people are learning what Indian culture, Indian music, art forms, devotion and spirituality is. Definitely something that transcends boundaries, and this is what we call living bridges between two countries, India and Brazil. With camera person Piyush Verma, this is Meghna Dey, 40D India from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Fascinating cultural connect between India and Brazil. Moving on, India's real GDP grew by 6.5% in 2024-25. Despite global uncertainties, the country's consumer price index-based inflation hit the lowest since February of 2019. More in this report.
India continues to strengthen its position as the world's fastest growing major economy, expanding steadily despite global uncertainties. The Reserve Bank of India projects this robust momentum to continue into 2025-26, underscoring the country's economic resilience and balanced growth across sectors, fueled by solid domestic demand, easing inflation, and rising exports. Real GDP grew by 6.5% in 2024-25, reflecting healthy underlying economic activity after adjusting for inflation. Other projections also remain optimistic, with the United Nations forecasting growth of 6.3% this year and 6.4% next year, while the Confederation of Indian Industry places its estimate between 6.4 and 6.7%. In 2014-15, the GDP at current prices was 106.57 lakh crore rupees. It's expected to rise to over 331.03 lakh crore rupees in 2024-25, nearly tripling in 10 years. Inflation based on the Consumer Price Index stood at 2.82%, the lowest since February 2019. The number of retail investors surged from 4.9 crore in 2019 to 13.2 crore by the end of 2024. Foreign direct investment inflows reached a provisional $81.04 billion in fiscal year 2024-25, marking a 14% rise from the previous year. Foreign exchange reserves hit a record $697.9 billion as of June 20, 2025. The current account balance posted a surplus of $13.5 billion in Q4 of 2024-25 compared to $4.6 billion in the same quarter previous year. Total exports soared to a new high of $824.9 billion in 2024-25, growing 6.01% from $778.1 billion in 2023-24. Key indicators such as record foreign exchange reserves, a manageable current account deficit, and increasing foreign investment reflect growing global trust in India's long-term prospects. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Russia claims to have captured another couple of settlements in East Ukraine. United Kingdom to reestablish diplomatic relations with Syria after the country's years-long civil war. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Russia has said on Sunday it captured another couple of settlements in East Ukraine, one in the Donetsk region and one in Kharkiv. Ukraine did not immediately comment on Russia's claims. Moscow has been grinding forward on the front lines for over a year now, pressing its advantage against the overstretched and outmanned Ukrainian troops. On Sunday, Russia said it had captured the village of Vidomn in Donetsk and Soblivka in Kharkiv. The Russian military accelerated its advances for a third consecutive month this year in June. Amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine is seeking additional Patriot air defense systems to bolster its security. The development follows what Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described as his most productive talks yet with US President Donald Trump. In his address, President Zelensky emphasized the critical importance of air defense, saying that the Patriot system is precisely the key to protection against ballistic threats. The two leaders also discussed a range of other strategic issues with further deliberations expected in the coming high-level meetings.
Regarding the conversation with the President of the United States, which took place the day before, it was probably the best conversation we have had during this whole time, most productive. We discussed air defense issues and I'm grateful for the willingness to help. The Patriot system is precisely the key to protection against ballistic threats. We also discussed several other important matters which our teams will be working through in more detail in upcoming meetings.
In other developments, Israel has sent delegation to Qatar for talks on possible Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal, although Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has said changes requested by Hamas to a ceasefire proposal were unacceptable. Hamas's demands include withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. Netanyahu, who is due to meet US President Trump in Washington on Monday, has repeatedly said Hamas must be disarmed. Hamas, however, has refused to discuss this Israeli demand. This comes after Hamas said it had responded to US-backed Gaza ceasefire proposal in a positive spirit days after Trump said Israel had agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize a 60-day truce. UK has announced that it was re-establishing diplomatic relations with Syria after the country's years-long civil war, as Foreign Minister David Lammy visited Damascus, pledging $129 million in support. Lammy met Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara. Lammy's visit, the first by a British minister in 14 years, comes days after US President Trump signed an executive order terminating American sanctions program on Syria, ending its isolation from the international financial system and helping it rebuild after the war.
I'm here really on behalf of the British people who have always stood by the Syrian people with humanitarian aid and support, to speak to this new government, to urge them to continue to be inclusive, to ensure that there's transparency and accountability in the way that they govern, but to stand by the Syrian people and Syria as it makes this peaceful transition over the coming months, and to continue to strengthen bilateral ties between the UK government and the government here in Syria.
A team of technical experts from the United Kingdom arrived in India's Thiruvananthapuram on Sunday to carry out repairs on a British F-35 fighter jet that has been grounded at the city's international airport since mid-June. The advanced stealth aircraft, part of the HMS Prince of Wales carrier strike group, was forced to make an emergency landing on June 14th after encountering adverse weather conditions and low fuel levels while operating approximately 100 nautical miles off the coast of Kerala. The Indian Air Force facilitated the safe landing, provided refueling and logistical assistance. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the British High Commission expressed appreciation for India's continued support and collaboration. In a stunning political move, billionaire Elon Musk has launched a new party in the United States, calling it the America Party, to challenge what he describes as the country's one-party system. Announcing it to the platform on the platform X, Musk took aim at both Republicans and Democrats, saying America needs fresh leadership. The move comes after Elon Musk openly criticized President Trump's newly signed tax cut and spending bill, warning that soaring deficits could bankrupt the country. Elon Musk has also vowed to fund campaigns to unseat lawmakers who supported the bill. At least 59 people, including 15 children, have died in a catastrophic flash flood sweeping through central Texas. And search teams are racing to locate dozens more who are still missing. Among those unaccounted for are 27 young girls from Camp Mystic, a summer camp nestled in the state's scenic hill country. The disaster was triggered by torrential rains that dumped up to 15 inches of rain over the Godalpo River. Authorities say the actual death toll could be higher as the floodwaters ravaged multiple counties. Eyewitness Tonia Fucci, who was visiting her grandmother, recounted the destruction that followed the deadly floodwaters and said she's in complete shock seeing such devastation.
Complete shock. I'm still in shock today. The devastation was such that I'm still in shock today. And with the rescues going on and the helicopters, you just know there's so many missing children and missing people.
Back home, the monsoon has tightened grip across parts of India, prompting the Met Department to issue a red alert for the states of Himachal Pradesh and Maharashtra, warning of extremely heavy rainfall. The IMD has also issued orange alert for several other states, including Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, West Bengal and Kutch, along with Gujarat. Tunag Bazar in Himachal Pradesh's Mandi district has been severely affected by flash floods and a sudden cloudburst. Rescue teams, including the National Disaster Response Force, have been deployed to carry out relief operations. While authorities remain on high alert as rain continues in parts of the district, IMD has issued a red alert for Himachal Pradesh. India's national capital, New Delhi, on Sunday witnessed rain offering much-needed respite to Delhiites who had been enduring a prolonged spell of humidity. IMD issued an orange alert for Delhi, forecasting light to moderate rains accompanied by thunderstorms for the national capital over the next couple of days. On to sports now. India outplayed England by 336 runs in the second test at Edgbaston, Birmingham on Sunday to level the 5-match series 1-1. With this win, Shubman Gill-led side scripted history as it turned out to be India's first ever test win at the venue. It was batting paradise on offer where Gill scored an aggregate 430 with knocks of 269 in the first innings and 161 in the second. Akashdeep duly impressed in the absence of ace pacer Jasprit Bumrah by picking up 10 wickets, including a 6-wicket haul in the first innings. Mohammad Siraj too held the team cause with a total of 7 wickets to his name. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.